Howdy all. This is the Wednesday video for Pipe Week 2026. Third attempt. Maybe this one will work. So, I figured I'd do some more police interaction stories. Now, the first one was shortly after I turned 16. 3, 4, maybe 5 months. I had my car. Was a 87 Chrysler LeBaron, if I remember correct. Anyway, I was on my way to school. I had my sister with me. One of us forgot something. It was a permission slip or a note, something along those lines that had to be turned in. So I whipped the car around, about halfway there. Running a little bit behind schedule, but not detrimentally behind schedule yet. But this 4 mile or so return to the house to put a damper on it. Oh, by the way, Rozzy Ketty, Piccolo Line with Bayou Morning. Anyway, turn around. Go speeding up the road. In the middle of the road, there's a 3-foot cross pothole, maybe 3.5 foot. It's a big pothole, between 6 and 8 inches deep, and maybe even a little bit deeper in the center. But I figure I can swerve around it, not slow down, and I was going faster than I should have been, I'll admit that. Went to swerve around it, caught the pothole with the passenger front tire, yeah. And it popped and spun the car 180. Skidded down the road, hit an embankment that's about 3 foot tall, and launched up it, went through the air airborne. From the top of the bank to where the car stopped moving was a 10 to 15 foot gap that we were airborne off the top of that hill. And we hit a tree, and there was a row of trees there. We weren't going to miss every tree. They were close enough together that front and side end something would have hit. Anyway, hit the tree where the front fender meets the driver's side door. It completely caved the driver's cabin in, put the steering wheel through the windshield. It was pointing straight up. The floor pan molded around my feet to where I couldn't get them out. The radiator popped, coolant line popped, something popped in the front end. It was billowing smoke. My sister's freaking out, screaming the car is going to explode. I'm trying to calm her down. Well, I try to get myself out of the car. I check all my, fingers, toes, and everything, wiggle. Nothing seems to be broken. So I start unlacing my boot on my right foot. My right foot. I get unlaced as far as I can to get it open, loosened up, and I yank the tongue as hard as I can to get it as loose as possible. And I have to wiggle and jockey my foot around side to side, up and down, back and forth, and slowly squirm it up out of that boot. Once I've got that foot out of that boot, I proceed to wrench on that boot for a little bit and rip it out of the hole, which then allows me to slide my other foot out of the pocket that was created. So wedging there good and tight. It wrapped around on the sides, and it encased it from behind by pushing up against the support where the seat sat. It was pretty wild. Anyway, I get my feet out, and I climb over the center hump, and I get to the passenger side, and my sister's already out. She's standing 20 feet away from the car or something, screaming and hollering, it's going to blow up, get out. And I motion myself out of the car. I sit down in the passenger seat, lace the boot up, and once I get that done, I get a stand up, turn around, go to grab my cigarettes out of the center console, which was a little pocket in front of the shifter. And a little pocket's gone. Nowhere to be seen. So I start looking for my cigarettes, or the little box that the cigarettes were in. And we look, my sister looks, look. About 5 minutes into this looking, my sister finds the box up the road about 20 feet in the opposite direction we were traveling. So at some point in time when we hit the tree, the dash exploded and somehow ejected that box out of the car and back the way we were going. Mathematically speaking, I don't know how it works out, or physics was to just, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, she brings the box back to me, and I pull out a cigarette and I light it up and I sit there and stare at the car, trying to figure out what we're going to do. Because there's no way we're going to school. We're done late. I got to figure out who to call. Mom's at work, Dad's at work. They live apart anyway, they're divorced. So I decided I'm going to call my grandmother. And I go off, walking up the road, about 200 yards. The owner of the trees that we hit one of has a house. She's a retired school teacher. Knock on the door, greet her, say, hey, I hit one of the trees in your driveway, or your yard, not driveway, in your yard. Can I use your phone? I need to call somebody to come pick me up. Sure. Well, we call my grandmother. My grandmother starts her way over. While we're in there doing that, somebody else calls the cops. Now, mind you, this is mid-90s, so they had to have called from their home phone. I would imagine there was nobody in this area that had a cell phone in the mid-90s. And even if there was very little to no cell towers that worked anywhere near here. We're talking 100 miles. But cops show up. This cop shows up. His name's Marvin, and he's going to be a recurring theme in these stories from here on out. I've dealt with Marv a lot, and he shows up, asks me what happened. My grandmother shows up. My mom finds out what's going on. I tell the cop what happened and whatnot. We go back to the house, drop all the stuff out of the car off. My grandmother was driving. Drop all the stuff off, get the stuff that needs to be taken to school. We take it to school. I think my sister ends up going for the day. I end up having to go to the dentist to chip my front teeth. I had to grind them so they weren't jagged. They had to get the cracks out and then patch them. It was a good time. Had to get my arm taken care of. I forgot that part of the story. We'll jump back. Go back to making the phone call. She says, sure, come on in. I get in. I go to the phone. I start making a phone call. And the lady goes, did you know you're bleeding? I look down. I'm standing in a puddle of blood. It's not gigantic, but it's not small. My left arm went through the driver's side window when it shattered. So I got a bunch of little tiny jagged pinpricks where the glass cut me. It's not like it was great big wild slices or anything. It's just the little cubes from safety, or not safety glass, but tempered glass. When it shatters, it breaks into little cubes. All these little cubes hit me, and it did a shotgun effect, and there was just tons of little tiny holes. You know, it's really what it was. But it was enough that I bled quite a bit on her floor. She gave me a towel, and cleaned it up, or I wrapped it around my arm, and I asked her to get me a mop and a bucket, and I'd clean the blood up. And she's like, no, just get out of my house. I was like, okay. So I go out, and I sit on her front stoop, and then that's when the cops and everything shows up. Anyway, the cop that showed up, his name was Marv, and he asked me about all this, and I explained it to him, and he proceeds to tell me when he's done writing everything down. He goes, Mr. Johnson, You should be dead. It's like, thanks. I'll keep that in mind. He's like, you just got lucky. Which, maybe I did. Maybe I did. But, nonetheless, that was the end of that interaction. Teeth ground. Missed a day of school. I missed a day of school, but that didn't bother me none. Which then put me in a spot with no car. Now, I did have money because I'd been working. I started calling around people I know. Mind you, this was the good old days where cars were reasonably priced. Used cars were reasonably priced. Found a Mustang, 79 Mustang. It wasn't pretty, but it was in good shape and it drove great. Manual transmission, which is basically what I wanted. And I don't know if you'd say that car made me notorious or infamous. Either way, the cops knew who I was because of that car and the shenanigans I did. But they could never catch me where they could ticket me. I were always a day late and $1 short with that car. I had friends that were doing driver's ed, and I would take them up. They were a year younger than I was. I'd take them up, I'd drop them off, and then I'd pick them up. Well, it became a routine, a habit. When they would hop in the car, I would just burn the tires off the Mustang. I'd smoke them, and then every day they just kept getting a little bit longer and a little bit longer on the burnout, a little bit longer on the burnout. I was mastering my technique, I guess you would say. And I laid approximately 180 something plus foot burnout coming out of that school parking lot. And the only reason I know that is my buddies that were going there paced it off. And it's rough math. About 180 feet. Down the front of the school and then around the bend towards the road. Well, after I did that, the following Monday, they had a cop sitting there. But he wasn't in his car. And I didn't see him right away. He was standing by the front door like he was a security guard, making sure nobody was doing anything stupid. I didn't see him. I didn't pay no attention to him. I don't know if he was there intentionally waiting on me or not, but there he sat. And my buddies jumped in the car, and everybody's hooey, give it a, do a burnout and all this other stuff. Just like every other day before, I pulled out and I just let it rip right there in the parking lot. And the one buddy that was sitting in the back, he starts screaming, "Go, go, go, here comes the cop." And I was like, "What cop?" And he points to the guy running towards the car. I look over my shoulder and I can see him. And I shift gears, and instead of spinning tires, I just accelerate out of there. I was like, well, okay. Day's done. I won't get in trouble. Well, come back Tuesday, drop them off, come pick them up. There sits a cop at either end of the parking lot and the non-teacher parking areas. And their cruisers just sitting there waiting. And I seen them when I pulled in. And pick my buddies up. Take off all nice and gentle. And this kind of stuff went on for quite some time. For the rest of that summer. We played hide and go peek with me doing silly, foolish things and them trying to catch me doing it. Cool thing about that summer was I had an unlimited supply of tires, so if I had melted one set, I could just go get another set. A buddy of mine had a tire pile behind his barn, and he said I could have any tire out of the pile that I wanted, and he had a lot of match sets, right size for my Mustang. So I would just go to his house, I'd pull the tires out, I would swap them on his tire changer, take the old ones that I had taken off and put them in another pile he had around behind his barn. We just kept doing that. I'd melt tires every 3, 4, 5 days. I'd go get new tires. Well, the end of that summer comes, and my mom and stepdad are taking a trip. It's before school picks back up, so I'm not staying at their house. I'm staying at my dad's place. Well, they're taking off. I'm 17 at this point. Will either am 17 or will be 17. I guess it would have been will be 17 like a couple weeks. Well, anyway, that's neither here nor there. My mom tells me that I need to come over a couple times while they're gone to check on my sister, make sure she's not throwing any parties, this kind of foolish stuff. Show up in the middle of the night, basically. So, it's a Friday afternoon, and my mom calls me and says, make sure you go over tonight and check on your sister. And she called me, I believe they were in North Carolina, called me from the motel and told me, or left me a message, however that worked out. I was like, okay. So about midnight that night, I decided I'm gonna split off from my friends, go check on check on this, make sure there's no party going on, and my sister's not doing anything foolish, because she was the family party animal that did foolish stuff at the house. I always did my stuff away where I couldn't get caught. Anyway, I go back to the house, and she's there. Yeah, no. How's this go? I was on my way there. No, I had already gotten there. I was on my way there. And I come out of the town I live in, and there's this big hill. It's down and then back up. And we call it Park Hill because at the bottom of the hill there's an entrance to the state park. I come down the hill, not paying no never mind. I was running 65-ish. Not paying no never mind, speed limit's 55. And there's a bridge right before the park entrance. And I come into that corner, 65, and there used to be an old restaurant right before that turn. And parked back in there where you couldn't see him was a cop. Come past there at 65-ish mile an hour, and he let me up. I crossed the bridge. I pulled over in the passing lane, which it's just a lip around so people can turn into the park and nobody has to slow down. I pulled over into that and then off to the side of that. And the cop gets out and he walks up. He's like, I've been looking to catch up with you. So what are you talking about? He's like, all those burnouts in front of the school. Of course, I tried to play dumb. He's like, no, I'm sure it was you. You're the only car around here that it's an old 79 Mustang that says Laser 2 on the side of it. I was like, there's got to be at least one more of these around here, because that wasn't me. I tried to play dumb. He wouldn't have none of it. He ends up writing me a ticket for 64 and a 55. He said I was going faster than that, but I don't know that I was. That was my first speeding ticket. He was not happy and I was not happy. Anyway, I go check on my sister after that. She had a couple friends there, but no party going on. They weren't even drinking, surprisingly. And hanging out for half an hour. Cruised around the house, made sure they didn't have anything stashed, and then took off. Well, it's been 20 minutes worth of yabbering. I probably ought to be in enough. So everybody, hope you're having a good pipe week. Remember, if you ain't having fun, you aren't doing it right.